friends, welcome to Prerna Ki Sroth, an initiative which is committed to showcase the real life heroes. And the guests who are gracing this episode are role models in more than one way. She was a banker. When she quit her job, she wanted to be actively participating in raising her boys who were visually impaired. The mother and son duo are role models in more than one ways. When people would usually give up on life's challenges and have a victim mindset, she decided never to give up. She looked at the difficulties as the potentials and the abilities to challenge herself, her capabilities, and raised a boy as beautiful, as talented as Ritvik is. Today, he runs a school where he teaches music to all kids, specially abled, differently abled. He's worked as a music teacher in one of the reputed schools. He's a Visharad in Indian classical music. He set records of scoring highest marks in his category in the school where he was learning classical music. Today, Ritvik is a role model for all of us to look at and also to aspire to become like him. Such commitment, such dedication, and what talent. So let's welcome the beautiful duo and their beautiful bonding that they have as a mother and child on this platform. This is Snehlata and Ritvik Rajan.
Hi, Shivali.
How are you?
I'm good.
It's our pleasure to be
It's
on
our
your
pleasure
show.
to be on your show.
You've been very kind to accept this invite. Ritvik started his journey of singing as a singer when he was less than a couple of years, if I'm right.
1.5 years.
1.5 years. So take us there and tell us how the journey began. And today he is 2,000 and more stage shows he's performed. So wonderful feat there, Ritvik.
I remember performed for Bala Bangalore Art Lovers Association in way back in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Not to forget that Mamta School function performance at Dharwad on Children's Day, where I sang with my brother with duet song together, and that was my first stage performance. I also remember singing and recording in Bhavagites. That's all my journey began. I remember I sang for that Bala Balaga annual event, drama songs. I'm working hard. Mama says that I started singing when I was in when I was in her stomach.
So I remember ma'am sharing once with us initially that how Abhimanyu learned the art of breaking that Chakravyuh when he was still in the womb. The same ways she remembers that she would sing and listen to a lot of music when she was carrying you. So ma'am, would you share some of your initial memories of carrying Ritvik and how you taught him all the music that he knows today?
Yeah, Abhimanyu, he came out of the womb, but I feel Ritvik is still in the womb because we haven't detached as yet. The umbilical cord is still intact, I suppose. He has undergone so much training in music. He has completed his Hindustani classical. He is a Bihai artist of Akashvani. Then he has done his grade 5 Western vocal from Trinity College of London. And in 2019, he appeared for
Rock and Pop grade 8 from Trinity College of London. And I secured 94% and the top rank.
Yeah.
Whoa, congratulations. Well done. We're so proud of you, Ritvik.
And he has a perfect pitch right from childhood, and that was very well appreciated by the examiner who came. So, with all these things, that this is a recent development, but his learning music had to be utilized for him to make it a career. So there I was stuck because I didn't know how he would communicate and reach out to people teaching him music. So what I would do, I would take him for walks, and there I would tell him that you have learned so much of music. Now, whatever you know, you have to teach the children so that when you teach, you get your salary and you can make use of that money for your livelihood and for buying things, CDs and things like that. So that is how I put it to him. So I would tell him that I will be your first student. So when we go for walks, I would say, okay, what will you teach your child? So I will give him a clue that you teach him the notes in music and sing Sare Gama Pada Nisa. I will sing Sare Gama Pada Nisa. Please repeat after me. So he would sing the Sare Gama Pada Nisa, and I would purposely make a mistake. Then I will ask him whether what is a mistake. So he says, this is a mistake. So I said, no, you should not point out. I say, if it is the boy, no, mom, no, ma, this is the one, this is the mistake that you have committed. It has to be sung in this way. You know, that way I kept on tutoring him how to teach music. And so then I found a lot of positive things coming up from him. So every time he sang something for me, I would make a mistake or I would sing through, and then I would ask him, you appreciate me if I sing well. You know, so that exercise kept on going. And then we were called to, because he started, we started the music school at our house, and he used to teach music. Of course, I used to be there throughout with him. So he would be the music and I would be the teacher. You know, we work as a team. So he will teach. So if I tell him you correct it this way, he will correct it. And he's so patient. So if a song has to be sung to the student 10 times, he will sing it. It only matters, I only have to tell him that you sing it again and he will sing it. And that kind of a teacher you will never find anywhere, I suppose.
No, actually, the way that you have raised him has made the difference.
One of the students' mother was from DPS. So she used to bring her daughter for classes. So she said, I want Ritwik to be introduced to the principal at DPS Bangalore North. She's a very nice person. So we got an appointment with the principal and I took Ritwik and went. So the principal and 2 vice principals were there. So they sat and he sang all kinds of songs for them in different voices. And Ritwik has a multiple talent. He sings in about 8 languages and he sings in about 8-9 voices. The song has 8-9 different voices also. And that is a major hit in his programs. He can change voices just by the drop of a hat. So when he sang in front before the principal and all, they were so enamored and they were enjoying his songs. And the principal said, I want you in DPS. So I actually didn't know what she meant. So then I asked her. So she said, no, I want him to work in DPS. And by then I had all the documents to support him to get the job, because he had his secondary certificate, he had his Visharad certificate, and he had a little bit experience of teaching at home. And she was such a nice person. I think I've never seen a person like her. Her name was Manju Balasubramaniam. And she was so open-hearted and, such a warm and accommodative and such a great human being. So she said, okay, you can come and join the school. We just joined the school and there was no asking whether I could accompany him. And there also we worked as a team. I would draw out the syllabus and, teach him the songs that were to be taught to the children. And we worked together as a team. He as music and me as a teacher. He started singing when he was about 1.5 years and he wouldn't respond to anything other than music. So if we sing a song for him, then he would respond. And if somebody posed a question to him, he would reply it with an apt Hindi song. When he didn't know Hindi at that time, neither does he know now. He knows bits and pieces of Hindi words, that's all. So that was really amazing. And since he wouldn't respond to anything other than music, I tried all means to give him the maximum inputs in music. So my elder son, Roshan, who is not with us anymore, he was a very good singer. So music used to be there in the house all the time. House was filled with music. So Ritwik also grew up listening to music, singing with his brother, recording songs at a very young age. And then incidentally, it so happened that since I was working earlier, I couldn't give him much inputs. Then I resigned my job and later I took up full-time work with him. Then came an occasion for him to sing for an annual function of Mamta School at Dharwad. So I took courage and I decided that I will put them both on the stage. So Roshan sang in a male voice and Ritwik sang in a female voice. They sang great songs. And that was a turning point, I suppose, in Ritwik's life and my life also. Because the applause that he got when he started singing in a female voice, that was unimaginable. So later I came and told him that the sound you heard was the applause that you got for your singing. And then I decided that music can be his career, his livelihood. So but we couldn't put him for a formal training at that age because he wouldn't understand many concepts. So his formal training started when he was about 10 or 12 years of age. So he went on to learn Hindustani classical under various gurus. Then he learned light music. Then he became an artist of All India Radio Dharwad. And that was a major milestone that we achieved because his voice could be heard through radio, through the medium of radio all over. And that was Kannada Sugama Sangeeta, light music. And then the stage performances were going on and they were doing very well. Both of them used to perform very well.
You put it very simply, very humbly. I'm sure the journey that you started, it is at an early age when you mentioned that he didn't talk much, but he could sing when he was a year and a half. Yes. So from that age, how did you, initially you and Roshan were the first guru for him, his elder brother who's now no more, but both of you were his initial gurus. So how did that training happen when a child is not able to talk, but is able to sing and understand? He has a great sense of music, like you mentioned earlier. Yeah. So how did you plan that training for him at initial age when he was very small?
Yeah, Roshan was also visually impaired and he was also training in music. He used to play a lot of instruments. So he used to sing and they used to be together always. So they were like soulmates. And Roshan was the best friend that he had. And they used to perform together. They used to practice together. They used to sing together. They used to play together. So everything was together. And since Roshan was already undergoing training, I think that seeped into him also. So there was no difficulty as such. So without understanding the meaning of any song, he would just sing like that. He would pick up the lyrics. It was a little difficult for him to pick up the lyrics, but the tune was so fast. He would pick up the tune so fast and he would sing any kind of song. So that gave us enough support, that he can go ahead in his life with music. And with Roshan's support, it was easy.
Right. So Ritvik started to perform on stage after the first performance where he sung in a female voice and it was highly appreciated, and the applause that he got from people was something that gave you the confidence that yes, he has the talent in him and yes, he can take it as a professional. So how did the other stage performances happen for him?
See, it was just by word of mouth. We didn't have any networking or anything. So when they perform for any particular event, a lot of people come forward and they fix up programs. So by God's grace, everything was falling in place and they were getting programs after the other. And many of them were very elite ones. The crowd was also very good. So we didn't have any problem as such to, advertise for their, because the quality was good and there was so much of versatility in the way they sang. And Ritvik especially, he was singing in female voice. So both together, they were a big crowd puller, actually.
I'm sure. And with you as their support, it must have been a beautiful journey, the way that you started. But what is that you did which makes you say that two of you are two bodies and one soul? What is that secret of, the way that you raised him or you raised Roshan?
This is a very difficult question, I suppose, because I have to go back memory lane. And I don't find anything difficult in that because, we were working together. Like, I have my left hand, Roshan used to be there, one person on the right hand. So we used to move together every time. It's either the two of them performing and I would be at the back. So any program was there, we would chalk out the songs and make them practice. So each program was a great success. And that gave us enough encouragement to go ahead and do more and more. But in the process of learning music, we faced a lot of hardships. I wouldn't say hardships, we faced a lot of, problems in terms of like when Ritvik, we're so passionate about singing and there are various rules to be followed when you're singing a classical raga. So if he's singing with a guru, he's not supposed to go one note beyond what the guru is singing. And those rules he wouldn't follow. Not that he does not know the rules, but once he gets into the singing mode, he's totally involved in that. The other things doesn't matter at all. He's so oblivious of whatever is happening around him. Some people don't realize that it is not intentional. So at such times you feel really, very bad. And I can't correct him at that time, because if I pull him down, then his creativity is also lost. He was so creative. So one of his gurus, in the initial stage of his learning music, he used to go to one young lady for learning. So that was the first time he started learning Hindustani. He had absolutely no idea about what Hindustani rag is. So I would make him sit at the corner of the class and just allow him to listen to what the teacher is singing, because I didn't know how he would react and how he would respond and how he would sing back. So I told the teacher, in case he says something, you just don't worry about it. Don't take any offense of it. So then I told her, and she said no problem, because she was very good lady and she was very adaptable. So then when she starts singing, I don't know whether you are aware of the taan and alaps and all in the Hindustani rag. So there are so many avartanas, so many turns where they take 16 matras and all those things. So when she starts off a particular rag and she starts off with the swaras in that rag, when she starts the alap or taan, he would continue it, not even knowing the swaras that are there in the rag, but he would weave those cycles and sing it. So she would always call him 420, and he didn't know the meaning of 420. So he would just say something. So it was that kind of a thing, But Roshan was very mature, so he would understand everything. He would try to tell him. But this guy is so, I don't know what he would say. What happens when he is in a singing mode, nothing else matters for him. And
he's totally engrossed, and he's absorbed in the music itself.
Yeah, like when we used to go out for traveling, when we used to go out for programs and all, and when the moment the flight lands, it hits the ground, he would start singing a classical piece. So that is the kind of thing, and he will come home till he reaches home also, he'll be singing it. After coming home, he'll complete the entire rag, and then only he will even do any other chores of his. So that was the kind of a commitment and involvement and passion in the music.
Yeah, so, I can understand. So Ritvik, is there something that you like to share with us when ma'am told that the way that your journey has been? What is your thought about it?
What is your thought?
My thought is that I'm learning Hindustani classical music. That's a big question.
Big question? I'll make it small.
Drama song for the annual event of Bala Balaga School. That's a big one.
At Dharwad.
At Dharwad. Oh. When I used to give public performances at the age of 9, and I used to continue singing and entertaining people. I participated in various reality shows in Kerala, Karnataka, Mumbai, and experiences.
Was good.
Experiences was good. I had a lot of fan following.
Wow, this is incredible, Ritvik. I have heard some of your videos, which are like a very soulful voice you have. And, I really want to appreciate you at this moment, that the way that you have learned music, music has been imbibed in you right from the moment when you were conceived as a child. In the womb, your mother was the first guru. She still is your guru who helps you learn music. So, ma'am, a little bit about, when kids are born with a special talent or with some disability, or they're differently abled, most of us usually have this tendency to have the victim mindset. In your case, you took it very differently. So, would you, share how, how you became what you are, in the sense that as a parent, what worked for you and what was your self-talk that you were doing when Ritvik was there?
Well, the first shock came when I conceived and I delivered Roshan, my eldest son. He was also born visually impaired. So I was very young at that age. So I didn't know what are the things in store for me. So I kept going and I had a mission to make my children equal, if not better than others. And I wanted them to become role models. But that thought came to me a little while later. So in the initial stage, when Roshan was growing up, I didn't know how to go about in bringing him up and providing him the education and everything. So music was something which was untouched. Of course, I had learned music for quite some little while, and I had the desire to learn music, but circumstances were such that those days there was no encouragement and we didn't have the facilities. So I gave up that. And Roshan's education was my main concern. So I kept knocking on the doors of various schools, and those days there was no inclusion, right to education, nothing was there. So wherever I went, they would say this school is for the normal children, and there's no place for you. So it was very disheartening for me. But I kept going, and sometimes when I would come back, with a negative reply, I would yell at those people and come back. So once or twice I have shouted at the management and come back. But of course, it didn't serve any purpose. But then later, when Roshan was about, say, 3.5 or something, I found a school for him. And then I gathered that they have the integrated education system where they had a resource teacher. So I went to the school and got admission for Roshan. And he started learning in the normal school. So before I put him to school, we had made a survey. We had gone to blind schools and studied the environment over there. So it was very pathetic and very disheartening, to see how they managed their lives there. So we didn't want to put him in a special school, and we started his education there at the integrated school. And before putting him to the school, I learned Braille because I wanted to have a connect with him. And if I had to teach him, I should know his language. So I started learning. I learned Braille even before he learned. And then his education started in a normal way. Of course, there were a lot of setbacks, but Roshan was a very smart boy, and I didn't want him to lack anything. So I was working at that time. So what I would do, I would record all his lessons in a cassette. I would teach him everything that I could lay my hands on. I would take him out. I would make him feel the colors. I would say, you feel the colors. So the inputs that I provided to him was so much that many times, even if, while sewing a cloth, if a needle falls down, he is the one who is to pick it up, and he was totally blind. So that was the thing. And he would always say, where the current goes, you people are blind. I am happily reading. That he was very optimistic and very nice. And many times Roshan was also upset about his problem because in the school, all children used to make fun of him and they used to call him blind. So one day he came and asked me, Mama, what is blindness? So, and my husband was not in town at that time. He had gone France. He had gone on a training program to France, so I was alone at home. So I didn't know how to give the answer for that. So I asked him for some time, and then later I told him that we all have 2 eyes. We see with our eyes, we smell with our nose, all those things I told him. So how many eyes do we have? So he said 2. So how do you see? So I used to make him feel with all his fingers. So I said, you have to use your fingers extensively. So anything that you would touch, he would touch it extensively, feel it, ask questions, find out the texture and things like that. So he said, I feel my fingers. So I said, how many fingers you have? He said, I have 10 fingers. So he said, then I told him, so who is able to see better? I have only 2 eyes, you have 10 fingers. So you are much luckier. And whoever made fun of you, you go to the school, show them your Braille script, ask them to read it. I'm sure they won't be able to read it. So you tell them, if you're not able to read this, so you're blind in your own way, I'm blind in my way. So there's absolutely no problem. And so he was so happy with that. And I think that was the big achievement So I don't know how things worked for me and I got this idea. But that was a very good thing that I did. After that, I didn't hear one complaint from him about his disability or his incapacity to see. Then the inputs that he got were so good that he absolutely didn't have any need for it. And I put him for music training. He learned the mridangam, and he accompanied some artist in Akashwani when he was about 3 years. When he couldn't even hold the mridangam, you know, one side of it somebody was holding it. He was holding it in a tilting position and tapping and playing. So he also started learning music at a very young age.
So you mentioned initially that Roshan had his own disabilities, but you raised him to a level where he was independent. He was working. You know, you taught him Braille, and then he went to a normal school, and then later on he was doing a job also. So how was it different for Ritwik?
See, in Roshan's case, he was the only child at that time, and I was also much younger, so I had the drive in me that I should provide him everything that I can lay my hands on. So even in the school, you know, when the teacher would be in the 5th lesson or 4th lesson, I would have taught him up to 10th lesson. So he is able to keep pace with the teacher, and he is able to answer all the questions that are given to him. So he would feel, you know, confident, and he will feel nice. So he used to be at the topper in the class all the time in all the subjects. The stage was there when he couldn't do mathematics. Then I got him substitution of the subjects and things like that. So he finished his SLC, then he finished his PUC, then he finished his graduation. And in graduation, at the college, there was an award which one child had won, a boy had won for best student. So when I went for the admission, I said, I want you to be in this position. Whatever I can do from my end, I will do it. And ultimately, he got the award. He did it.
Wow.
So all his books, I used to record in cassettes, including some encyclopedias, you know, with the intonations and things like that. So he was abreast and, you know, well aware of what's happening, everything. There was no gap at all between the normal and child and him. He was on par with the others.
Right. And Ritwik's journey started as from the stage performances that he made. Today, he has been working with school wherein he is training as a music instructor, as a trainer there. And what are your plans for Ritwik for moving ahead?
I really don't plan anything. I just keep working, and you know, some things fit in at the right place. So in Roshan's case, I didn't have any problem in him completing his post-graduation, and then he got a job in a call center, then he got a job in MES. So everything settled down for him normally. Of course, there were a lot of hitches in between, but they are not worth mentioning because every person goes through a lot of difficulty, and I don't see any difficulty as a problem. I just try to find a solution and get over it.
No, that's a beautiful statement. You don't see any difficulty as a problem. You just find a solution for it. And I think that is the right mindset that we all need to, have. We all are differently abled. Somebody is more talented, like Ritwik has the blessing of being a beautiful musician that he is, the singer that he is, the artist that he is, while somebody will have a different kind of ability. So I think the world has to start looking at the abilities more prominently than looking at the challenges that the person might be facing, because everybody faces some sort or the other challenges in their lives, right?
I would always say that you look at the abilities of the child and not at the disabilities. In Ritwik's case, it was very challenging for me because Roshan was almost settled even at a very young age. So maybe I was devoting more of my energies and my time for the development of Roshan, because he had already got into school and a lot of things had to be done for his academics, music and sports. He used to participate in sports activities. I used to take him for quiz competitions and all those things. But Ritwik, he wouldn't respond to anything other than music as a child. So it was a very difficult situation for me. And we were, my husband's was a transferable job. So we used to go from place to place. So when we settle down and I find that I can do something, then we are off from that place. So ultimately, when we came to Bangalore, by then I had, of course, given up my job and all. And he wouldn't even chew his food as a child. I had to start from scratch. So he had to be forcibly fed as a child, and he would sing a song for that. And then, to make him chew, what I would do, I would put my finger into his mouth and ask him to, press his jaws and tell him to chew. And then I would withdraw my hand. And that way I taught him how to chew even a banana first. First he ate a banana. So it was that difficult for me to bring him up to this level. And schooling, though, it was totally out of question because I couldn't find a proper school at the right age. And then he was too big for a small class and too small for a bigger class. So that situation persisted. And then when he was about 16, I got to know about NIOS, and I registered for NIOS. And that was also a big, I don't know what to call it. It was a major risk I think I took. But then it was worth it. It was worth it because directly putting him to secondary school when he has never been to a school, you don't know what to teach him, whether the meaning of the words, the lessons, the question answers, spellings, vocabulary. But fortunately for me, I used to play with him vocabulary games and things like that when we used to travel to the music class. So he was very good at vocabulary and meanings. So I would record the lessons for him. I would, simplify the question and answers. I would record the lessons and question and answers. Then I would record it in a cassette. I would read each line 3 or 4 times at a slow pace. So he kept on repeating. So if you record it once, he may not be able to follow. So every sentence I would record 3 or 4 times. And then in between 2 or 3 questions, I used to intersperse it with some music. So to keep his attention on that song. And I would say that you cannot find another committed person like Ritwik. And that is a major advantage for me because if I tell him you sit and study, I will play the cassette repeatedly. He will go on for 3-4 hours. If somebody comes and talks, also he say, no, I'm studying. It was that kind of a commitment and sincerity that he had. So that is the secret of his, achievement. And he completed NIOS with a lot of hitches, a lot of problems with getting a scribe and things like that. And then he cleared it. He scored about 78%. 78%, yeah. He scored 78%. About 78%. And that was a remarkable achievement for him.
Absolutely. What was your feeling, Ritwik, when you scored so much?
I felt excited.
Yeah.
Great. Wonderful.
You wouldn't believe. So Roshan came and gave me a big hug. And he said, this is your result, not his result. So you have achieved something. So he was really so happy. Roshan was so happy, And so I knew that for the academic aspect, when he has a secondary, nobody will ask him what is his academic qualification. Then my focus switched on to music. So music, he had problems. Even now he lacks, sensory. He has sensory deprivation. So he was not able to open his fingers like us. So I used to take him to occupational therapists and people like that. And they had suggested to me that you put paper into his fingers and pull it. So I used to do it more than 300, 400 times wherever he would sit, wherever we would travel. I used to have a cardboard postcard with me. And so those things were on. And then he learned how to open his fingers. So then I thought, okay, I'll put him for tabla because that is related to music, where he would use both his hands and he will develop coordination also. So I started training him for tabla. And I told the tutors that if he makes a mistake with the fingers, don't be very harsh. And then he went on to do 3 levels of tabla exam where he scored distinction. Simultaneously, he was learning music also. And I didn't even have the faintest idea that he would take one exam. But then the series of exams followed, and every exam that he took, he came out with shining colors. And Hindustani classical, I put him for class, so he cleared the Praveshika, Madhyama 1, Madhyama 2. He has cleared even Visharat Purna.
Wow, brilliant. So congratulations to you, Ritwik, for working so hard. And so you're a Visharad in Hindustani classical.
Yes. And that was also, because the scribe who would come to write his exams would be a Kannadiga. He does not know Kannada. And neither do I learned Kannada by learn Kannada in 30 days. So whenever I had to go to the shop to get a cassette for Roshan also when he was participating, I used to carry this book, put those alphabets 2 and 2 together and read those words and then get the song. And when he came to Visharad, we didn't get any books from Gandharva Mahavidyalaya, is the center from which he took the books exam. So we didn't get any books in Kannada nor English. So we had to get books from UP. And UP books were all in Hindi. So I knew Hindi and Roshan also knew Hindi. So I and Roshan used to sit together. We used to translate that material, whatever is according to his syllabus, whatever subjects he has. We used to sit together and translate it into Kannada and simplify the sentences. Then I used to record it in cassettes and give it to him. So the amount of work that went on to make him complete that Visharad was something which I cannot express.
No, but the three of you worked like a team together, and that is what you always say, that we were 3 bodies and 1 soul.
1 soul, yes.
Yes. So
Chivar is Ritvik, because he didn't give up. He kept listening to that repeatedly. So he was able to answer the question. So I would go to the examination hall. I would take permission and tell them that I will know which are the questions for which he knows the answer. So I would just tick the answer questions and then I would come out from there. And one more thing Laurel he achieved is Gandharva Mahavidyalaya has got over I think 1,600 centers. I'm not sure how many they have in India and abroad. And we got a letter one fine day that among the visually impaired candidates who appeared for Visharad, Ritvik is a topper, and he got a
Balakrishna Madhuskar Puraskar. We had convocation at Belgaum.
Yeah, Balakrishna Madhuskar Puraskar got when during the convocation that was held in Belgaum. So,
wonderful.
These kind of things.
Such an achiever you are, Ritvik. And I also want you to tell us about the visit that your favorite hero gave you. APJ Kalam gave a visit to you. How was that feeling and how was that experience?
It was very good. Yeah, when Kalam sir came to our house, I sang in front of Tirukural. I sang before him. I sang Tirukural. Tirukural is like a Vachana, like pen. Like Kabir Ki Dohe.
I and
Bhaiya both of us sang some semi-classical duets together. And then he gave us Ignited Minds in Braille.
And he also presented them
one CD what he has composed, that song sung by Mohit Chauhan.
Oh, wonderful. So Dr. Kalam, he's everybody's inspiration. He is with us even when he's not around by the work that he's done for all of us. And he came to listen to your beautiful music. Ma'am, how was that experience for you as a parent? Because, somebody of his stature coming to your house and giving you a visit and listening to the songs, how was that experience for you?
That is something which I cannot express actually, because you can count in the fingers the number of houses that you would have visited. And if we are one of those, the credit goes to the children. It is because of their music that he was drawn to our house. And so he was actually, they said he's planning to come only for 10 minutes. And he spent about 1 hour, 40 minutes at our house. And it was such an eventful thing. He was such a simple person, and like how we are talking, like that he was with us. He enjoyed the time that he spent with us. And we also didn't have any feeling of, that hierarchical difference and all. So it was I think the most memorable event that happened in our life.
Beautiful. It doesn't happen to very many people that somebody like his Dr. Kalam visited your house and he was so appreciative of the work that boys were doing. And I'm sure it is you and your family's commitment towards raising them the way that they are today, as in Ritvik is. So ma'am, you mentioned initially that when the child is having some sort of a difficulty or disability, when it is impaired with some other difficulty, we don't have enough facilities in today's world within India. So any message that you would want to give, or anything that you want to recommend to the policymakers, or something that you want to have for the kids?
Yeah, this is, I have been telling various organizations about this particular issue because they have, training centers and opportunities for the visually impaired, hearing impaired, visually and hearing impaired, mentally challenged. But people like Ritvik who have multiple disabilities, where you have, you need to have separate, specific, trained individuals to address various kinds of issues that he's going through. And I have checked with various organizations. They don't have any places like this where I can send Ritvik for training, like the ones you have abroad. No, you have all the things under one roof. But that is why I always would like to request that if any policymakers are there, they will look into this particular issue and find some centers where there are people working like volunteers, because there are therapists working in these areas, different things, but they charge a bomb which is not affordable by many of the people. So most of them are not even aware of it, and they can't utilize their services. So if there is some place where under one roof where these kind of children can seek training, or for communication, for tactile sense development, for mobility, computers and all those things, it will be really helpful. Because the achievements that he has been doing is only through music and his own hard work. But if there is an intervention by any trained officials, I think things will work out easier and better for him.
Right. So, ma'am, what message would you like to give to parents? Because one thing that I want to tell the viewers here is that Snehlata ma'am does a lot of counseling work for parents who come to her, parents who have differently abled kids, because it requires a lot of strength from the parent side to be able to raise kids generally. For me also, it's a challenge sometimes that I face on a daily basis. Parenting isn't easy. It gets overwhelming with time. Therefore, everybody needs, somebody who they can look up to. And Snehlata ma'am is one such person that even I would seek a lot of guidance from her as far as parenting is concerned. So, ma'am, what is your parenting advice to all the parents out there?
I just want to go back to your previous question regarding the facilities that we are looking for, and what I would like to tell the policymakers, that if they can make some individually tailored approach for multiple handicapped, multiple disabled people, it will be really helpful. Because case to case varies, and each individual's requirement is different. So if the assessment is made, an individual, approach is given, it will help benefit a number of such children.
So that's right, that we need to have an integrated approach and more of child-centric, what that one child needs, and therefore we have the entire system working around that child, because each child is a resource to the community, to the nation, and to the world. And therefore, not just as parents, as it takes a village to raise a child, it takes here, the community has to come together and be more inclusive, be more empathetic, and have the right kind of facilities for the kids so that their potential is identified, explored, and worked upon.
Because every parent is worried about the future of the child. And when the child has various issues like this, so what next or what after us, that is a major worry that every parent goes through. So instead of worrying about that, if there are facilities available like this, we can ensure that the children are, trained by these people to make themselves capable of going through the hardships that they may encounter in the absence of the parents. So that would be a major breakthrough, and that is a major help for the parents also, because they can be rest assured that, okay, we have done our part, and these organizations will take care to make sure that our child becomes independent and their needs are taken care of under one roof. Many of those things can be taken care of. And my message to the parents would be, to focus on the abilities of the children, not of the disability. So that is the first thing. And accept the child as he or she is, because we are the ones who are bringing them to the world. So it is our responsibility. So if we don't accept them, the society will not accept them. So that is very, very important. And it should be like a mission-oriented program, because there should be a mission as far as any child or any person is concerned. So if we are thinking of making the child independent, then you have a mission, you all work together as a team. The entire family is involved in that. And then the second, after acceptance comes love. And I think there is no power more than the power of love. So if you love the child, if you love yourself, love everything that you do, things will be easier for you to handle. And it should be unconditional love, preferably, because that is most important for us, because we don't look at what we can get from them or anything like that. And then one more thing is, when the parents are faced with such kind of issues, they all become depressed. They don't take care of themselves. They're all in a very pathetic. They look very pathetic, and that is very depressing for themselves and for the people who look at them. So I always say, look good, and so you feel good. You feel good about yourself, because when you look at the mirror and you look at yourself, then when you see yourself haggard and depressed, the problems will go on more, infusing into you more and more, and then there is no coming out of it. Then another message I would like to tell is, don't look at the problems, find solutions to the problems. So if you look at the problems will only get aggravated. So you find a solution. If one solution doesn't work, try something else. And if you're really passionate about what you're doing and you really want to look at results, you will find solutions some way or the other.
Wow, so much positive messages, ma'am, you've given to us. I'd like to ask you one more thing. What is your source of this positivity? What keeps you so positive?
I never look at the past. Past is gone, the future is yet to come. So never brood over the past, nor think about the future and worry. Live the present and enjoy, and do whatever you can. Work hard with commitment and sincerity, and then you will achieve your goals. And I'm very particular about keeping myself fit, because if you're not physically fit, you won't be able to work. So I keep myself physically fit by maintaining a good diet, doing exercises, and that gives me energy. And the most important source of my energy and my thing is my belief in God, and who gives me belief in myself. And I always say that I'm in constant conversation with God, because He is a part of me. So anything that goes on, the whole day I'm conversing with Him, because I know He will not react. Because if I tell my problems to somebody else, they may think that this lady is always grumbling, or talking about their problems. And if I get angry, they may retaliate. So if I have anything, either good, bad, or whatever it is, if I share it with God, He will guide me through. So the constant conversation with God, it really helps me immensely. And I smile always. So that also keeps me going.
Wonderful, wonderful. There is so much to learn from you, ma'am. So one thing that you said, that self-care is very important. As you said, that if you look after yourself, then only you'll be able to look after the rest of the family. And another important message that in all my coaching sessions, when I interact with people, I tell them that acceptance is the first step, towards everything, towards yourself and also towards others. Now, we all face, while we are raising up kids or when we are growing up, everybody faces some sort of a different kind of a challenge in their life, right? There is no life which doesn't face a challenge. So every day we face a challenge. So instead of looking at the problem, look for the solutions. And that's a very beautiful message that you've given. Ritvik, is there anything that you want to share with us?
I want to share about be positive, work hard, with commitment, sincerity, and achieve goals.
Beautiful message for all the kids who will be listening to Ritvik. He is the role model for all of us. And I really wish both of you a lot of luck and love and happiness, and continue doing the beautiful work that you're doing. Keep inspiring us the way that you do. Would you like to sing something for us, Ritvik?
हर घड़ी बदल रही है रूप जिंदगी, छाँव है कभी कभी है धूप जिंदगी, हर पल यहाँ जी भर जियो, जो है समा कल हो न हो। हर घड़ी बदल रही है रूप जिंदगी, छाँव है कभी कभी है धूप जिंदगी, हर पल यहाँ जी भर जियो, जो है समा कल हो न हो। चाहे जो तुम्हें पूरे दिल से मिलता है वो मुश्किल से, ऐसा जो कोई नहीं है, बस वही सबसे हंसी है। उस हाथ को तुम थाम लो, हो मेहरबान कल हो न हो। हर पल यहाँ जी भर जियो, जो है समा कल हो न हो।
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Such a wonderful voice you're blessed with, and you know it gives me goosebumps to listen. I've watched the other videos that ma'am has been very kind to share with me, and it is so soulful voice that you have with this. Such a pleasure to interact with you, both of you. And there is so much that I can't just stop saying this, but there is so much that there is to learn from the two of you as a team. So thank you so much for gracing Prerna Ke Srot with your the beautiful people that you are. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It was our pleasure. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, ma'am.